Greetings, citizens. Today I would like to talk about difference. The difference between trade and transportation. After I published my discourse on the transportation in Star Citizen, I had several comments on how I didn't address the viability of the goods I was using as the example for transportation, the loading and unloading of those goods, the value versus space required, or the viability of routing. And hopefully I've covered some of those in my discourse on trade. This, of course, for me, highlights a need for better understanding of the differences between trade and transport. While much of trade involves the transport of goods from one place to another, the transportation itself is not the main focus of trade. A trader in a central location can do very good business, never leaving his shop. He buys what people are selling and sells to those looking to buy, letting people come to him. Transportation itself is simply the moving of things or information from one place to another, be it for yourself, for trade, or as a job. When transporting items for yourself, you often have the luxury of choosing when, where, and how things are moved, most often being able to select your time frame, what risks you're willing to take, and the destination and origin of the items in question. When transporting items for trade, you are slightly more limited. Where can you get those items for a reasonable amount? Where can you sell them for a decent profit? What are the dangers associated with those optional routes? Which ships will be able to use the available jump routes? Be reasonably able to move the items in question in a quantity viable for business. When transportation is a job, you are even more limited. You don't choose the items, the start location, or the delivery point. The routes will be even more limited, and the ship choice will be even more important. Are the goods high value? Is it known that you will be transporting these goods? Are there multiple routes you can select from? All of these questions would hopefully be answered before you accept the job, but sometimes you can't answer them all. And this makes decisions in this case even more important. Previously, I used the example of water, which is easy to calculate, 250 kilograms per freight unit in Star Citizen, as it can't be compressed and is relatively stable as both a product and a good. This met with some questions, so let's discuss something a bit more traded. Iron ore, refined into iron, refined further into steel. This is a product in demand by manufacturers the verse over. Most often found in several ore forms, magnetite, hematite, and geothite, these ores vary in density from 5,000 to 5,500 kilograms per cubic meter. And while this is less than the refined form, at 7,874 kilograms per cubic meter, when refined, it takes up much less space, as you have slightly compressed the iron contained within the ores, and you have also removed all the non-iron parts of the ore, reducing the overall mass you would be carrying for the volume. While the refined amounts depend on the starting material and the process used, you can usually expect a reduction of 10 to 20% in relative mass between the two. This highlights but one of the issues of transportation versus trade. As a transporter, the difference between moving refined iron and unrefined ore makes little difference, as you are being paid to move the items one way or the other. And if you're smart, you're charging by both the freight unit and the mass. As a trader, it highlights a choice. Do you try to buy, move, and sell unrefined ore, which will cost less to buy, less mass to ship, but also will result in a lower sale price for the volume? Or do you purchase iron, which is more dense, has a higher price comparatively for the same volume, but also has a higher resale value? And of course, you could go one step further in the process, as iron can be refined into steel, which would sell for even more, cost more as a result, would also have a density between 7,750, 8,050 kilograms per cubic meter, which of course depends on its carbon content. This chain of refinement will most likely be present in Star Citizen, moving ore from mining facilities to refineries, and then moving it to be refined further before it moves on to ship producers. A second facet of the difference between trade and transportation is the concern for the viability of the items being transported. As someone simply transporting goods, all you are concerned about is they arrive at the location intended in the same condition that they started and within the requested time period. As a trader, you will have to worry about the time frame you set. Will it ensure that perishable items haven't, or that the contracts you were hoping to fill with your items have not already been filled, or that the product has been oversupplied on the delivery side, or undersupplied on the supply side, thus driving up the price you pay, or down the price you get, or in some rare cases, a trap, where a pirate organization will create a market opportunity waiting for traders to begin moving items in, providing them with targets along a specific path that they've already mapped, which, while it could be a problem for a transportation agent, it would cause even more of a loss for a trader, which of course is a third difference. While a transportation operator would have a loss if they lost a ship en route, they wouldn't lose an investment in the goods being transported. A trader, on the other hand, would lose both the ship and the cargo being transported. It might be a bit of an odd distinction, but it shows the biggest difference between the two: mindset. Your mindset will play a large role in how Star Citizen plays out for you. It will also affect your actions in Star Citizen, and it will affect how people interpret your actions as well. In conclusion, mindset is the biggest difference between transportation and trade. When you're transporting goods, your mindset is just get the goods moved. When your mindset is trade, well, you have to worry about a lot more things. And you have a lot more risk, which we'll talk about later. I would like to take this time to apologize for not going into more detail in my first video about the Carrack. I, however, feel it was still a valid idea to leave it out. The Carrack is first and foremost an exploration ship. We don't know how the configurations for that ship will work out, how much true cargo space it has when fitted for its transportation role, or how much mass will be added to its current data when it's fitted for that role. This will very much affect its role. I will advocate its use for finding jump points and mapping it for the bigger ships, as it is one of the largest ships we have seen that is dedicated for exploration. This, of course, provides another trade option, and I feel there will be a strong market for trade in jump points in Star Citizen. And of course, where there is a market, someone's going to need to sell and transport that data. Thank you for joining me. Fly safe.